Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Is everybody enjoying Athens?
Oh, yes. What little one's seen of it. We haven't been to the Parthenon yet, but you know.
I've lived here my whole life, and it's so great to see the CNO Historical Society here in Athens. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to talk a little bit about myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Isaac Miller. I'm a member of the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway in Nelsonville. I'm currently holding the office of secretary, and I'm serving a 3-year term on the board of trustees. I also serve as marketing assistant, and I'm also editor of our railroad publication, the Valley Flyer. It's a bi-monthly newsletter that we send out to members. And I frequently volunteer on the train, either as a conductor or as a car host. And as you may have noticed, I'm wearing my conductor suit right now, or as we call it, the monkey suit. Now let's talk about the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway. Hocking Valley Scenic Railway is a 501c3 nonprofit tourist railroad located in Nelsonville, Ohio. We offer historic train rides on 12 miles of former CNO track between Nelsonville and Logan, specifically the old Athens subdivision. We were founded in 1972. Normally we run diesel, but we do have an operational steam locomotive, which occasionally pulls special steam-powered excursions. Currently, our next scheduled steam specials are going to be November 1st and 2nd at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Now let's talk a little bit about the history of the route that we travel over. So the route was originally built in the late 1860s as a part of the Columbus and Hocking Valley Railroad. History of the original Hocking Valley Railway dates back to the 1800s in the area surrounding Nelsonville. There were a lot of rich coal seams in the area, and initially the coal was shipped by wagon, but after that it was shipped by canal. And as you might imagine, the canal was not very fast, nor was it efficient. So the answer was to build a railroad. In 1864, the railroad began on paper as the Mineral Railroad, and groundbreaking would begin in Columbus 3 years later in 1867. It was also during that time that the railroad's name was changed to the Columbus and Hocking Valley Railroad. The railroad reached Nelsonville in 1869 and Athens the following summer. First freight train from Nelsonville to Columbus was on August 17, 1869, and a cannon was fired as the train approached each town as it headed from Nelsonville to Columbus. And then in 1870, the first passenger train from Columbus to Athens ran on July 25th of that year. The railroad provided a reliable means to transport the coal to Columbus. The Nelsonville area had over 40 mines and mining communities. As a matter of fact, this region was full of what we call little cities of black diamonds. There were a lot of coal branches. In the year 1881, the Columbus and Hocking Valley would become a lot bigger when it merged with the Columbus and Toledo Railroad and the Ohio and West Virginia Railway to form the Columbus, Hocking Valley, and Toledo Railroad. Now, the Columbus, Hocking Valley, and Toledo Railroad was the largest railroad entirely within the state of Ohio. It connected Toledo, Columbus, Athens, and Pomeroy via a system of well over 300 miles of track. Not only was it known for its freight service, they also had a lot of elegant day coaches and parlor cars. Passenger service on the Hocking Valley, Columbus, Hocking Valley, and Toledo could not be beat. Unfortunately, in 1897, this Columbus, Hocking Valley, and Toledo went into receivership. J.P. Morgan purchased it in 1899 and reorganized it into the Hocking Valley Railway Company. Morgan is better known as one of the owners of the infamous ship Titanic. But at the last minute, he canceled his trip on that fateful maiden voyage. And here in the photo, we have a picture of an original Hocking Valley Railway ticket, which is part of my personal collection. It looks like it's been punched, so that implies that somebody used it for a trip. And then here's a picture of the largest locomotives owned by the Hocking Valley Railway Company, the big A1 class 2662s. This particular picture is near Delaware, Ohio. This was from E.H. Miller's collection.
I think that bridge in the background is the Columbus, Delaware, and Marion track.
You may be right.
Yeah.
But this section of track is still in use today and is used by CSX. It doesn't have nearly as many trains as it used to, but it's still somewhat busy.
You remember that one.
And then here we have the Nelsonville Yard. The Hocking Valley Railway's Nelsonville Yard was once over 30 tracks wide and even held the title as the 7th largest train yard in the country at one time. Today, though, it's much smaller, and we use it as a storage yard. There are several pieces of history that are still standing in the yard, though, or they were still standing until somewhat recently. The 1905 machine shop is still standing, and today we use it as an office, meeting room, and work facility. This past fall, back in 2024, we redid the inside on it, and it's really nice. And we put a new roof on it recently, too, so we can keep using this 1905 building. The 1920 yard office is also still standing and is now owned by Hocking College. 1917 coaling tower was also still standing until 2009. Sadly, in 2009, it had to be torn down due to safety concerns. There's a sign that stands along Railroad Street where it once stood. Hocking Valley also had a 10-stall roundhouse that was located in the Nelsonville Yard. It was still standing until the 1990s. As a matter of fact, behind our engine house and behind the machine shop, if you look closely nearby some of the old apartments, you can see a concrete wall that was once the back side of the roundhouse. In 1910, the C&O purchased controlling shares of the Hocking Valley Railway, and in 1930, the Hocking Valley was merged into the C&O completely, effective April 30th, and it became the Hocking Division. If you want to learn more about the Hocking Valley Railway, I'd recommend checking out Edward H. Miller's book. It's full of a lot of great information, and here's a picture of my signed copy. Mr. Miller came and spoke at our annual meeting for the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway in 2023, and he did a really great job, and I managed to get my copy of the book signed. So it's a great book, 10 out of 10 recommend. And also Mr. Cliff Clements recently had a great article on the Hocking Valley Railway in the recent issue of the C&O magazine. Check that out if you haven't already. Great job, Cliff. And now, let's talk about the story of the Hocking Valley Railway Company. The beginnings. Founders of the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway were Ted Goodman, Jerry Ballard, and Lenny McCauley. In the late 1960s, a steam locomotive was brought from up around Michigan to the C&O's Yard A in Columbus for restoration. Does anybody here know what locomotive that was? Lake Superior and Ishpeming number 33, a 1916 Baldwin 280 that was purchased and restored. It bore resemblance to the 280s that were used on the C&O, and the C&O was our founder's favorite railroad. Well, we have a picture of number 33 up here. Can anybody tell me what this thing is that the cursor is sitting on? Something that...
Booster. Yeah, that's a tender booster.
Yep, that's correct. 33 had a tender booster, and when it was cut in, it increased its pulling power. But we never used a tender booster on the Hocking Valley. As a matter of fact, it only wore the tender booster for the first year. But it was never used on the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway. Our original plan was to purchase a DT&I line in Wellston, but that line was scrapped. We ended up narrowly purchasing the old Hocking Valley /C&O Monday Creek branch line in Nelsonville from a scrapper. We began operation in 1972 with number 33 as our sole mode of power. 33 was the sole mode of power for the first decade. And as a matter of fact, even the smallest of switching moves required Big 33 to be fired up. Whether it was an excursion or just a tiny little switch move, 33 had to do it. That was for the first 10 years of operation. Here's a few photos of number 33 along the Monday Creek branch. For the first few years before we had our first engine house, 33 would spend the winter at Parsons Yard Roundhouse in Columbus. Then it would return to Nelsonville on the C&O's Nelsonville turn. Sadly, as some of you might know, the roundhouse in Parsons was torn down about a year ago, but the turntable still remains. Here's a picture of 33 returning to Nelsonville behind a C&O Jeep. Actually, looking at the picture, I think that may be an SD. Appears to have 6 axles. Let's talk a little bit about the rolling stock of the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway in the early years. So as we talked about, 33 was our sole mode of power for the first decade. Our original passenger cars were a pair of Erie commuter cars. A B&O Combine joined our fleet shortly after our beginning, and in fact, that Combine is still in service today. We have it painted up in B&O blue. Combine's a beloved car of our fleet. And then a former C&O Gondola was converted to an open-air passenger car in 1976. And then C&O wood-sided caboose number 90704 was also a regular on our train in the early years. As a matter of fact, we still have the 90704 today, and it was refurbished in 2022 by a mostly volunteer crew. 90704 is currently on display on our team track near the Nelsonville Depot. As a matter of fact, the group photo we got yesterday was taken beside 90704. I call the 90704 Woody. And a couple other volunteers have caught on with the nickname too. So several people in our organization nickname it Woody. And then a pair of C&O lightweights also found their way to Nelsonville, only one of which saw brief passenger service with us. Here's a few photos of it with 33 along the Monday Creek branch. Both of these C&O lightweights are slated to go to the Gallipolis Railroad Freight Station Museum soon. If you haven't been down there, check it out. They're a nice little museum in an old Hocking Valley / C&O freight house. So if you have the time, go down and check them out. Transitional years, the 80s and 90s. These were years of transition and change for the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway. In the mid-1980s, we began operating on our current route between Nelsonville and Logan on the Athens subdivision. Our current depot was built in 1982 and is a replica of the Hocking Valley Rising Sun Depot. During the 80s and 90s, more locomotives began arriving, including C&O GP7 number 5833 in the year 1986. 5833 was built in 1952 by EMD and was part of the C&O's fourth and final order of GP7s. 5833 later spent time on the Chicago South Shore and South Bend as number 1508. In 1982, it returned to the C&O for disposition. Came to Nelsonville in 1986, and thanks to help from the C&O Historical Society, 5833 looks almost like it did when it was new in 1952. So hats off to the C&O Historical Society. Here's a few recent photos I've taken of 5833. Now 5833, we were hoping to run it for the C&O Historical Society trip yesterday, but it was having some mechanical issues, so we weren't able to run it, unfortunately. But the part has arrived and they were starting to put it back together today, so hopefully we'll have her running again soon. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the other C&O stuff that we own at the Hocking Valley. Aside from 5833 and the 90704 caboose, we have several other pieces of C&O equipment. We also have 90704's sister caboose number 90762. Who visited COSI in Columbus and remember seeing a caboose there? Anybody?
Yes.
Well, the 90762 is that caboose. The 90762 is currently stored in our engine house, and it's kind of been a on and off restoration project. We haven't done anything on it for several years, but hopefully someday we can get her restored and she'll look as good as what Woody does. And our third C&O caboose is one of great significance. It was built at the Hocking Valley Shops in Logan in 1929. It's numbered 90921. We restored the 90921 in 2021 to serve as a power car to provide electricity for our provide electricity to our passenger cars so they can have heating, air conditioning, public address system, lights, etc. And the 90921 was on the train yesterday as well, providing power. We also have 2 C&O cranes, both of which are operational. The 960-400 is capable of lifting an entire car and also has a support gondola with it. It's very useful to have for restoration and maintenance projects. As a matter of fact, they were using it this morning when they were working on 5833. They were using the C&O crane for the C&O locomotive. Our little yellow burrow crane is seldom used, but it has been used before in the past to load coal into the tender of our steam locomotive. This is a picture of it doing so back in 2019. We have 5 ex-C&O boxcars. 4 are currently used for storage, while 1 has been restored as a rolling rickhouse. The rolling rickhouse is a partnership between our friends at the Black Diamond Brewery and Distillery, which is located right beside us. The bourbon is being aged in barrels inside of the boxcar right now. Yep. Here we have a picture of the rolling rickhouse itself. We also have 2 C&O flat cars. 1 is used for maintenance away, and the other was converted to an open-air passenger car in 2018. And this open-air car is pretty cool because it has a hydraulic wheelchair lift built into it. And the water column at our depot is also a C&O relic that came from Parsons Yard. Maturity, the Hocking Valley Railway in the 21st century. The last 25 years, I think, have seen a lot of growth and change for our railroad. In 2003, we said goodbye to number 33 and welcomed GP10 number 701. 701, along with 5833, have been the backbones of most of our trains over the last 22 years. 701's actually pulling the train today. Steam returned to the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway in 2015 with the restoration of Beach Bottom Power Company number 3. It's a little 060 steam switcher. Now don't let her small size fool you. She's capable of handling most of our normal sized trains with ease. Number 3 is occasionally used to pull steam specials. Then in 2019, we purchased a diner car from Amtrak. With the dining car, we've started to do dinner trains. In 2023, we converted a Canadian Pacific day coach into an elegant table car to go with the diner. And we've currently got another Canadian Pacific coach in the shop that we're going to turn into our second table car. So there's a lot of stuff we can do with these dinner trains. Then a couple years ago, we decided to soup up our long-running Santa trains by lighting up the train's exterior. Also, in the last 20 years, we've added several other new popular specialty trains. Some of our most popular specialty trains include Easter Bunny trains, robbery trains, fireworks train, Halloween train, and the New Year's Eve train. And pretty much all of these trains are sellouts. And also another project that we're working on right now that we're hoping to have wrapped up soon. We're working on getting an SW1200 diesel switcher that's currently in the shop. We're working on getting it ready for service soon. And once the SW1200 is put in service, that's going to be our main locomotive. But 5833 or 701 will still be used on big trains. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.